you want to fold something away from yourself, okay? Because we're banishing, we're folding away from ourselves. You are turning anti-clockwise once, folding away from yourself, and then one more time anti-clockwise and folding away from yourself. So we folded it 3 times away from ourselves, and we've done it in anti-clockwise, which is reverse. Okay, we're banishing this. We're getting rid of it. When we want to bring stuff in, it's towards ourselves and it's clockwise.
Okay.
So you are going to hold this, you're going to close your eyes, you're going to bring up all the feelings that you want to get rid of. Then we're going to light the flame, and then we are going to burn the shit out of it.
Oh, great! So talk to me, Andrew. We're going to do a spell, and the idea of magic and spells is ancient.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a bit about what is the use of a spell?
Oh God, well there's as many definitions for that probably as there are people who practice any kind of magic. But to me a spell is sort of like a thought or a wish or a prayer to somebody else, but it's an action that you do that focuses your mind and channels your energy into a specific intention to make it manifest. And we can do that any number of ways. So some people like to use the word spell, other people, these days it's very popular to talk about manifestation, positive thinking, you know, high vibrations, all this kind of stuff. And it is all part of it, of course. We just like to put a lot of bells and whistles on as well.
Well, I suppose for me, because as you know, I'm into the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about the paranormal that's coming out from the UFO community is the whole idea that consciousness manifests not only action but matter,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing. So I'm here tonight to do a specific spell.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's something that I really want to keep my consciousness alert to, keep myself open to, keep my heart open to, and you're going to talk me through the best methods of setting the spell. Okay.
Yeah.
So what have we got here?
Well, we have a lot of different tools, and these are just some of the things that people might want to use. I suppose it's important to mention as well that when it comes to spell ingredients and tools, especially for people who are newer to it, they always ask, do I need all of this stuff? Is it all important? Do I have to have specific things? And really the answer is no. You don't need anything fancy. You can do a simple spell with nothing other than just your focused thought. But sometimes that's difficult for somebody who's newer to it.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of practice, you know, taming your mind and all this. But it's nice to have these things because they can help trigger emotion. They can bring about a certain atmosphere that will charge your energy. And also sometimes they can serve as reminders, and you know, each thing will be imbued with your energy as well as its own energy. So we're going to use things like crystals. Certain candles with certain colors are very important. Some people very much pay attention to the phase of the moon and the time of day that they do a spell on, because they believe that certain, you know, astrological you know, ingredients, I guess if you want to call it that, have a certain influence over a certain spell. So things will be done on different times of the day, different times of the year, and so on. But really, it just comes down to your own focused thought, and putting a spell into motion is something practical that you can do. It's really hands-on. That's where the craft part of witchcraft comes from. And so this might really help people focus their mind, and it can also leave them with something that they can take. They might make a little charm bag to bring with them, and then they've always got that physical reminder on them, you know, that they can kind of think about their intent and their manifestation.
It's interesting because there's a couple of things that you've said there. One is the idea that these instruments are kind of like a lens, a focusing tool. And then the other thing you mentioned, and I would like to talk to you about a bit more, is the emotional connection. That getting into an emotional... Is it very important, or is it not very important, to be in the right emotional state when you're casting?
I would say it is important.
Okay.
Because your emotion is sort of your point of attraction in a sense, isn't it?
Right.
I think when it comes to your headspace, well, it's like anything really. You need to be in the right headspace to do anything. Otherwise, if you're not in the right headspace to drive a car, and you're kind of, your mind is elsewhere and you're not paying attention, you know, things can go awry. That's why one of the first things that, you know, witches and people who practice magic will do is they will ground themselves, which is basically a meditation where you would visualize your energy just kind of going into the ground like roots of a tree, all the way down into the center of the earth, where you would connect with the earth energy, and it sort of grounds you, makes you kind of feel centered in place. It's sort of an act of mindfulness in a sense. And
should we do that at the beginning of this before we cast? Should we be grounding
I would
ourselves?
say so. I would say we can kind of bring ourselves down. You can center your energy as well, which kind of looks at where the energy falls on your body and sort of center it into one place so that you can direct it into your spell or some of these objects. If we're
As you know, I'm a yoga teacher, so one of the first things we do in yoga class is we center the person or ground them,
which is the same as what we're doing here.
And so it's that, and as you know, in yoga they would say thought is the great manifester. Everything you think of thoughts as things.
Well, that's the thing, because Marianne Williamson, who wrote A Return to Love, she says, and I think she was quoting somebody else in this, but it's where I read it, is when she said, you know, if the mind can heal the body, but the body can't heal the mind, then the mind must be more powerful than the body. So your thoughts are more powerful than your physical world, meaning your thoughts, your mind can change your physical world. And that's the whole point, is, you know, actually taking a moment to stop, center yourself, think about what it is that you actually want, and then do something practical towards it.
Now, I know who I am because I'm really, thoughts and me don't really agree. So in other words, if I feel something, I can't persuade myself to unfeel it. All my energy comes from the heart up. So I might be over emotional. So is that a problem?
No.
Okay.
No. You learn to work with, like, there's no, the great thing about spells, and like everyone will do them differently, you know, there are people who will do this completely differently to the way I would do this.
Okay.
And, you know, I've been doing this for years now, but and it's developed and changed over time depending on what I'm interested in. But the most important thing I've learned is how to manage your thoughts, your mind, but work with who you are, work with what you've got. There's no, you know, one way to be. Everyone has a different way of grounding themselves. You know who you are at your core, so even if your mind is a little bit scattered, it's just a case of slowing down that momentum of thought. And that might just be taking a few breaths just for that moment, just to center yourself, focus your attention, and then we can go out again and, you know, be awry again if we need to be. But we've set something in motion with that clear intent in that moment.
I suppose I'm thinking of Neville Goddard, and as you know, Neville says, feel it. Imagine it as though it is alive and happening. So, for example, if you want a holiday, say you want a holiday in Venice, so you imagine your journey over, you imagine the particulars, you imagine it through your senses. So would you apply that same imagination to the spell that you're making?
I would say absolutely. So it's more important that you have that feeling, that emotional connection. So I don't work with particular, gods and goddesses and certain other beings like that at this point in time. Doesn't mean I won't in future. I kind of go where I'm interested. And my practice has changed over the last almost 20 years. But there are people who do. And what I would say is whatever you do, you have to connect with it. So there's no point in me sort of doing a spell and dedicating it. If I wanted to do a love spell and then I wanted to call on the goddess Venus, I was like, that wouldn't really work for me because I don't have any connection to that. It might work really well for somebody else. But I need to call on, okay, what makes me really feel love? What makes me think of those feelings? And, in myself, in my life, in my experience, how can I have that picture and call in that energy? And as long as you have a connection to it. And you feel that emotion. You have to feel it. If you're doing things out of a book that you've bought and you're following it step by step, it might not work the way you want it to because you don't have the connection. So that's why if you are learning anything like this, it's good to sort of read it, but then think about, how do I feel about this? How would I maybe interpret this? You don't have to do things step for step as they're written. You do have a say in how you practice magic. And I think the more into it you get, the more you realize that you have to inject your own personality into it and your own, because that's how it'll work. I mean, if you're a really artistic person, why not try and paint an image of something that is, what you're looking for? If you're a writer, you could write about it and include that in your spell. You can be as elaborate or as simple as you like. Well,
you've just thrown something into the mix for me.
Have I?
Yeah.
Well, we know you're creative.
There's a couple of things. I do feel I have a particular guardian angel. And I've named, now and again, we're back to, is it your higher self? Is it an aspect of your imagination? And I'm at this age now where I'm kind of going, do you know what? The imagination is an incredibly powerful force. If I'm not going to dismiss it with it, it's just, I'm going to say, okay, that's a segment of my imagination that I feel is particularly powerful, or something that has volition. And then I also have a spirit guide who has come with regard to my sculpture. So I'm wondering, can I call those two beings in to help with the manifestation?
Absolutely. So if you have anything that's personal to you, that you think, is going to help you drive whatever it is. I mean, it's really depressing now that she has passed away, but I could call on Anne Rice because I was a big fan of hers. I loved her work, and I could say, okay, Anne, do you want to help me with this writing project? Or John Updike, who wrote The Witches of Eastwick, who I loved, or any of them who've kind of passed on, I've heard of that. And while that might seem a bit strange to some people, if it works for you, it works.
Again, it's this idea, isn't it, of magnifying the intention and kind of weighting it in and taking it seriously enough for yourself.
Well, you have to take it seriously for yourself. If you're not willing to give the time, attention and seriousness, take it seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. But when you're doing it, do it with conviction and intention, because you deserve that. If the universe, or whatever you want to call it, God, divine mind, whatever, if you're not willing to put in 100% for yourself, why would you manifest the 100% for yourself?
It's just so, these are big philosophical questions. I listened to a podcast today and it's still rattling around in my head a bit, but it was about people who've been abducted by aliens, who've been given the control of the spacecraft, and the aliens keep saying, it is within you. And I kept thinking, that's a quote from Jesus Christ.
Well, when you take away the, religious baggage that can sometimes come with even just a mention of Jesus, if you actually look at some of the things he said, really said, not what people say he said, they were often very, very astute sort of things about your own power, your own mind, your own way to manifest these things. It's just it got twisted and...
Well, the power of manifestation has been totally... The volume on it has been turned down. You're wacko if you believe that you can make this. What? You've seen people on comedy shows saying, wish for a helicopter and a helicopter. You see it being made light of the whole way through.
Well, you could wish for a helicopter and it could appear.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, what I'm saying is that mostly people don't feel they have the power to make the space that they're in and to make the life that they have. And also, they kind of feel, what, I'm responsible for this mess? You know, that it's all double-edged.
I think you need to kind of, with that, it's difficult to kind of talk about being responsible for your own life without sort of thinking that, like, am I to blame for this horrible thing that happened to me? I don't think, the way I understand it, and again, my understanding is just to where I'm at. It might change, I might learn more as time goes on, but what I understand at the moment is that it's not the thing that happened to you that you manifested, it's that you were in the vibration of that thing that allowed it in somehow. And that might be that there was a lady I heard, she was terrified of she I think she crashed her car on a bridge, and she was terrified of this happening, and so it happened, but she doesn't know why that happened. And then when they traced it back, they realized that she was never even terrified about crashing her car on this bridge, but she had this sudden anxiety about it. What it was is she was living in this neighborhood that seemed unsafe, and she was afraid of somebody breaking into her house. And so when she kind of was living in that state of constant fear, this other thing happened that was on the same vibration. So it's not like she thought, I'm going to crash my car, and it happened, and then she blames herself. It's that your vibration was somewhere where it could have matched this other thing. So I think the whole, like, taking responsibility for all these horrible things that happen to you, it's not quite as simple as that.
Because, and we're you know, really what we're exploring is so ancient. Like, is the Kabbalah would have gone through this process of manifesting. And I suppose we're doing a simple gesture, we're going through it kind of simply tonight, but I suppose in a way we're hoping that it'll resonate and kind of make you realise that you can change things. You can change your stars.
You can, absolutely. I don't think anything is set in stone. I don't believe in destiny that you haven't made for yourself. I think there are certain things that perhaps have to happen. And I think there are but you have a say in everything that happens. I don't think if you get even kind of a prediction for your future that means that will happen. I think that could happen. That might be the road you're currently on, but you then get to change it. You know, and so I think it's almost more important to project, well, what would I like to happen? What do I want for myself? And it comes down to, what do you really want for yourself? Not what you think you should want, not what do other people want you to want. Like, you know, what do you actually want? You know, they often say, like, if you just want to go and, like, have more sex and have a good time, go for that. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If you actually want to manifest something, that you know, make sure that it is actually what you want, not, you know, anything that is still veiled in sort of social, you know, oh, I am so and so is going to think differently of me or whatever. You know, if you don't want certain things, then, you know, don't try and bring them into your life. You know, when it comes to, if you don't want to work in a particular place, you know, don't do it just because you think it's the right thing to do. You know, what do you actually want to do? So truth is required when you're coming to make a spell. Because honesty. Deep down, you know, the universe knows. Other people might not know. But you can only lie to yourself to a certain level. Because they're always listening. You know. Well, I love anything that requires honesty, as you know, and truth. It's a difficult path. So will we start with grounding and then we'll head into the spell making? We can do. I think the one thing to kind of mention as well is, when it comes to doing a spell, it's never just like a one-time thing. I think if you've got a manifestation that you want to happen, you have to think about where you currently stand in relation to that manifestation. So you could do a spell to attract money, and you could do the spell, but then you could go about your life after the spell still in this kind of poverty consciousness, which is sort of hindering what you've done. And then they're like, oh, my spell didn't work. And it's like, because you didn't do the work on yourself to allow it to work. So do the spell, but then decide after that you're going to be a different person going out into the world. You're going to be someone who catches those negative thoughts and turns them around. You're gonna, you know, stop kind of, you know, people are funny, especially when it comes to money. They want it and then they resent it when they see it, when it's other people who have it. And so it's like, you can't have those negative thoughts. You can't be jealous of other people anymore. You have to catch that, realize that, and go, that just them having that means it's possible.
Yeah.
And have that more, even if it's a slightly more positive thought. Work with affirmations, work with the stuff that comes up, what's blocking you, you know,
Okay.
and then that makes the spell a lot easier, because if you're still living in that kind of state of negativity, that resistance, it's very difficult to make anything happen.
Okay.
And so, you know, that's the real spell, that's the magic.
And do you do kind of, so when we do the spell this evening, would you recommend that I get into a new habit by doing a new ritual, say every morning, and to remind myself of the spell and the vibration?
Well, you could. It depends
Okay.
on what. Again, you have total freedom, which is what I love
Okay.
about it. What you could do is, after we do the spell, maybe every day, if you pick maybe some affirmations, if affirmations are something that you like and that work for you. Again, if they don't, we can look at something else. Just doing those every day.
Okay.
You know, and then, because affirmations are powerful, people kind of give up on them fairly quickly because they're like, this feels weird, it's not working. But the point is to stick with them.
Okay.
Because you're just rewiring your beliefs. Because when you repeat something long enough, you do believe it.
Okay.
And when we can, trick our brains into thinking, God forbid, nice positive thoughts about ourselves and our lives, we'll actually start to believe them, and that will
Okay.
attract in the energy that we want. So that's really the work that goes beyond it. So sometimes people do a one-off spell. We just have small candles here today, but you can get like 7-day candles, which are like this size, and you can do you can sit with it for like 7 days until it burns down again and again. You can do one that you do once a week. It just depends, whatever focuses you. And sometimes I like to make little charm bags with crystals and maybe the spelling residue of the ingredients when it's all burnt down, and carry that with me. You can hang it up in your car, you can keep it in your bag or your pocket, and that's a reminder of this spell is in action. It's also still attracting that energy to you, and it makes you keep thinking about the thoughts that you want to be thinking.
Okay.
And sort of it bringing it to you, and you're not thinking like toxic positivity, you're not kind of like lying to yourself, but you're actually allowing yourself to actually change, and that's the magic really, is that you can change. So when people cast a spell for love, what they really want to do is cast the spell for love on themselves, not on somebody else, and then the right
that's
person.
maybe the other thing that we need to mention. My understanding is including or doing magic on other people would be considered black magic.
Well, I think, I don't use the term black or white magic, because it actually is, it's sort of an old sort of, it doesn't really work, in my opinion. Black magic is actually, there's some racial connotations to it from years ago.
Oh, right, okay.
But a lot of people don't realise that. So, there's this whole idea of black and white being good and evil, and that's not really the way. A part of being a witch is understanding your shadow as well, and so there is no, it's just magic.
Yeah.
But what I think you mean is infringing on other people's free will.
Yes.
And so that is the case, and some people will do it. Absolutely. There are people who can cast a spell on a particular person and get that person. But the issue there is that isn't always the right thing to do, purely because yes, you are messing with someone's free will, but you're also going to get everything that comes with that person. So you could think this person's amazing from a distance, they're very attractive and they seem right for you, and you just, especially it's very hard to get someone to focus when they're just madly in love with somebody.
Okay.
And then they get that person, and then they aren't really everything you thought they were. They come with a lot of baggage. Maybe they have like a really horrible family, and you have this horrible mother-in-law that you then have to deal with,
Okay.
and you're like, why did I, you're much better off asking for the correct person for you, and just sending that out there, because then that will always be right. That won't have any resistance. You won't kind of keep coming up against obstacles.
So it's so interesting. You mention a lot of words that kind of repeat in the practice of yoga. The melting of resistance is a big one. And seeing what kind of barriers you yourself have got into the habit of. And that's why I'm fascinated by the rituals. See, I love rituals. So to me, this is a wonderful way to spend an evening.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we going to do first, Andrew? What's this?
So I thought it was good to do some sort of a releasing before bringing in something, because as we said, there's always some baggage that might be blocking what we want to come in from coming in. So we've written down some things that we want to get rid of that we think
Big
is
long list.
in the way. I know, be specific, get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, really, if you want to go for pages and pages, go for
okay.
it. So we're going to do a very traditional just burning. So what I've got here this is my cauldron. I have regular coarse sea salt, but I've also added in some of my black salt mixture as well, which is a really powerful banishing ingredient.
Ooh, nice.
So we're really getting rid of this. And then we just have a little bit of modern hand sanitizer for the flame. We're going to get a blue flame. You could use some alcohol if you want, but we'll use what we've got. We're going to set this on fire. But first, I think what we're going to do is we're going to kind of focus on this. You need to bring up the emotion of what you want to release, okay?
Okay.
So what I want you to do is the way I do this is you want to fold something away from yourself, okay? Because we're banishing, we're folding away from yourself. You are turning anti-clockwise once, folding away from yourself, and then one more time anti-clockwise and folding away from yourself. So we folded it 3 times away from ourselves, and we've done it in anti-clockwise, which is reverse. Okay, we're banishing this, we're getting rid of it. When we want to bring stuff in, it's towards ourselves and it's clockwise.
Okay.
So you are going to hold this, you're going to close your eyes, you're going to bring up all the feelings that you want to get rid of, then we're going to light the flame, and then we are going to burn the shit out of it.
Oh, great.
Want to do a candle spell, so you've got kind of the one you want.
I love the pink.
Sort of here.
It's young and fresh and loving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll choose my colour in a moment. I brought a few different ones. But if someone doesn't have all these coloured candles, because some of them are sometimes quite hard to come by, depending on where you live and what's available, a simple white candle, or sometimes even a simple black candle, will be substituted for any other colour.
Okay.
If you can't get hold of all these things, a white or black candle. If you're interested in crystals, a clear quartz can be charged for any intention.
Okay.
So you don't need anything else, and it amplifies intention as well.
What does this pink? Is that pink or lilac?
That looks like a very, very polished amethyst to me. So amethyst would be for psychic ability. It's sleep, calming, very serene. It was also used for sobriety. The ancient Greeks used to put it in their goblets of wine so that they wouldn't get too drunk.
Oh, really?
I've never tried that out. So.
Give that a go.
It's part of the quartz
But
family.
that really is important to me. And again, because I love kind of trying to remote view. I like doing psychic games. So it's also linked to intuition then. Obviously.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It will be your third eye.
I would like that as part of my spell as well.
Well, that will enhance the intuition part of your
Okay.
spell, so you'll maybe be a bit more alert to when it's working.
Activate
the
it.
little signs, because that's
Yeah.
the thing, you need to be paying attention to the signs around you. When people expect a manifestation, they think it's going to be this big burning bush like in the
Yeah.
Bible, and often it's not this booming voice. It's often just this tiny little whisper, or like a curiosity, or just a feeling that makes you want to just maybe take a left instead of a right or something.
Okay.
You have to follow those things and be aware of maybe, you know, trying something different, and
Okay.
just trusting that instinct.
And there's a couple of other things with regard to signs. I do look at literally the signs on vans that go by.
Yeah, I do too.
And the other thing is angel numbers that repeat, or numbers that kind of...
I get those too
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
So I'll know that things are amping up if I start to see the same numbers again,
Yeah.
or if particular signs are coming to me.
I think it's important as well to note is that they're your signs, your omens, or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them. You can look up what those mean, but what I like to think of is, you know, what do they mean to you?
Yeah.
So I have my own sort of numbers, my own signs and symbols, you know, little things I look out for, but they're personal to me.
Okay.
They might match what the traditional meaning is if you were to look up what it
Yeah.
was supposed to symbolize, but it might not. It might be a meaning I've assigned to it because that's what it means to me when I see it.
Okay.
I think it's the same when you want to look at what tools you want to use.
Okay.
So if you choose a particular candle color, you could look up what the candle color represents. But you could also have a think about, well, what does that colour mean to me? So someone might want to do a love spell and they might go for something like red or pink.
Yeah.
But they might choose green because green is your heart chakra.
Yes.
You might do a money spell and they might use green, but they might use something different. They might use a yellow. Maybe they want to invite that in. Like, I think of yellow for me is more about energy, creativity,
Okay.
that sort of real zesty kind of energy. I love to
Yeah.
use it like that. I don't think that's what it's generally for, but that's
Okay.
what I assign it for.
Yeah.
So when you do candle magic, it can be as simple or as elaborate as you like, but I like to think a more advanced witch would tell you the more layers there are on something, the more power that's behind it, because again, the more intention, the more focus, the more time that's gone into it. You know, you haven't rushed through it just to get it done. You've spent time on it, which means you've spent time on yourself, because you're worth it. So what you can do is, there's a couple of things. So you could just, what we'll do is we will sort of ground and center, but what we're going to do is we will charge the candles and the ingredients that we want to use. I've chosen my colour, you've chosen
I think I
yours.
prefer your other candle. I like this one, it's glittery, but I think I prefer the colour.
The other one,
Yeah.
you want one of these?
Yeah. Neon is my colour.
Well, go with what your gut is telling you.
This is me.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that's one you light sort of in the morning and do your affirmations with them.
Yeah.
So it's still part of your spell.
Okay.
So we can empower it now as well. But what
Perfect.
we'll do is you can just charge it with your energy, which I'll show you to do in a little bit. But there's a few things you can do with your candles. I think I'll tell you now so you can decide what way you want to do
Right,
it.
yeah.
So you can carve your intention onto the candle.
Okay.
Now, obviously, these are small, and even with a bigger candle, it's better to do maybe like a word or, you know, if you have a particular symbol that you want to draw on it, like so for, you know, money, some people might do like a
Euro sign
or whatever, dollar sign if they're in America. But you could also do, the way I like to do it is on one side I'll do my name,
Yeah.
and then on the other side I'll do like a word. So if it was like health or something, I'd do health, for example, or like, you know, perfect health or whatever it is.
Yes.
Again, keep it positive. Then what you can do is you would dress your candle, and we usually do this with oil. Now you can do this with simple olive oil, okay?
Right.
But we have a few, I just brought a few. We have some essential oils like lavender, there's peppermint, there is rosemary, you know, there's a few different ones.
Okay.
And these can be charged with, each one is for a different purpose, and so you would charge it for your intention. You tell the ingredients what you want them to do, essentially. And then you would apply it to the candle. Some people like to dress their candle in, I've seen it in many ways, so you kind of have to find your way.
Okay.
So some people would go towards the wick if they're
Right.
bringing something in.
Yeah.
Other people would maybe go away from the wick if they're
Okay.
banishing something. And then I've seen it the other way around.
Right.
And then I've seen people dress it from the middle up that way.
Ah.
So it's a little kind
Personal
of
preference.
personal preference.
Okay.
You know, I think if anyone tells you you're wrong,
Yeah.
you know, you don't need them in your life. You're allowed to have your own practice.
Okay.
Find what works for you. And this is
Okay.
why it's sometimes good to keep a notebook of some kind so that you can say what you did, what you used,
Yeah.
when, and then what the results were.
All
and
right.
then you can change things so that you're like, oh, well, I might change the color, or I might change what I did to it or something.
Okay.
And then when you've got it more perfected later down the line, you know it's a tried and tested thing.
So you're tracking yourself. Really.
You're tracking
Yeah.
yourself, yeah. You can see how it
How are we
works.
going to carve? Now, I have instruments in the studio. But
Yeah.
if you have one.
No, well, do you know, I sometimes just literally use a small end of like a blade or a scissors. That kind of makes the candle yours.
Okay.
You're empowering it with that sort of layer of carving. I remember Fiona Horn is a witch from Australia, I believe, and she used to actually say that if you lick your thumb and trace over the carving, it really just connects you with it as well. So sometimes I've done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dress it with oil if you choose. You don't have to, but again, one that maybe matches your intention or that you feel matches your intention.
Yeah.
You can also roll it in various herb mixtures. These are some that are pre-done, but you
Okay.
can make your own.
Yeah.
These are like love, health, prosperity. This is just a few that I was given to me, but you can make these yourself. You know, they don't have to be. They could be spices from your kitchen spice rack.
Okay.
You know, cinnamon is a great one for wealth. You might just get your spiced cinnamon that you might
Yeah.
put on your food and roll the candle in that with the oil, and it'll stick
Yeah.
into the carving. So then it's empowered with layers of magic, and then when you light the candle and you can let it burn down, then it's got a lot to it. You don't have to do all of that. It's only if you want. Some people will put their affirmations, they'll write them down, and they will put it either under the candle holder, which maybe we'll do.
Yeah.
And sometimes they actually put the candle on it and let the candle wax burn down on it, and then, you know, they can kind of keep it that way. So I think what we'll do then is first we'll ground. Okay, we'll kind of ground ourselves. Then we will write out what we want to manifest. Okay. And we're going to use red ink because red ink is very powerful. It's said to bring about manifestations. So we used black ink to banish. So now we're going to use red ink to bring in. Well, first we'll ground. Okay. So close your eyes. And beneath the floor, into the soil, beneath the house, down through the soil, passing all of the rock, any creatures, down deep into the earth, your roots strong, all the way to the center of the earth, where we see giant white hot light. And this light is pure love, stability, creativity. And as the roots join with this light, you might feel a tingle as this energy begins to travel back up your roots, up through the soil, still connected, joining with you, joining with your energy. Bring up as much of that energy as you need, up through the soil, through the floor, into the bottom of your feet. Bring it up your legs, up your body, all the way up to the top of your head again. Take a deep breath in and out. And just feel yourself connected with the earth. You're very anchored, you're safe, and you're focused and ready to do magic. First, fold this once towards ourselves. Okay. And then we're going to turn it clockwise. Again, we're bringing it in. We're going to fold it towards ourselves. clockwise and towards ourselves. That is your intention. We're going to put that under the candle. The more layers, the better.
Okay.
What you're going to do with that is, once this is finished, you can keep that piece of paper. What I would do is keep it next to your bed and then maybe read it every morning to yourself a couple of times. That's
Okay.
the first thought you have every morning then.
Great.
Okay, so you're starting your day off on the right foot.
Yeah.
You could always use this other candle for it. That might be your affirmation candle. If you want to light it for a minute, do it, blow it out, do it the next day, and just have that as part of your morning ritual. You can. So, choose whatever oil speaks to you. You've got your candle, but what else would you like to do? So
this spoke to me. I know you recommended the other one.
Yeah?
But for kind of peppermint, it's fresh and...
Yeah, something new. And,
and kind of refreshing.
Yes. Yeah, well, if that is what you want, that is what we will do.
Yeah.
We will carve your name on the side of the candle.
Okay.
I don't personally mind what direction it goes in.
Okay.
I know other people might. For me, I just kind of do it whatever way I'm holding it. I'm right-handed, so I'm holding it like this. So I'm going to go down the candle.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm bringing it in.
That kind of reads correctly to me.
For you as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I just maybe would do it on one part of it, and then I'd flip it over, and then on the other part of it, I might write the word.
Okay,
or a symbol or something of the thing I want to bring in there. So again, as you're doing it, it's a very meditative experience. So just as you're doing it, as you're charging anything, just bring up the feelings of what would it be like if this thing was real. Not like, how is it going to happen? But if you already had it and it was now, how would you feel? What would you be doing? What might it be like? Just enjoy the daydream part of it. Okay. Bring up the feelings. Don't worry about any of the details, but those things that come to you that are fun about it, think about those while you're doing this.
Great.
Okay.
Name first.
The next one will be to dress the candles. So I'll show you the way that I like to do it. So I'm actually going to use the same one that you want to use. So, so I would pour a few drops on my hand.
Yeah.
I would sort of rub my hands together.
Yeah.
And then I would just start to dress the candle like this, while maybe speaking or at least visualizing my intention, telling it what I want it to do.
Okay.
Okay. So. Okay, just be mindful of the wick. We don't want to get that too wet.
Okay.
So
here we go. I like the clap as well.
I find it just charges it.
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
So again, we want to kind of charge it. We'll charge everything again anyway, but just as you go.
The smell is delicious. Okay.
Okay. So next we can use some herbs to roll it in. So you're going to use this one.
Thank you.
What you can do is you can take a little pinch of it, have it in your hand, okay, and just maybe speak it.
Yes.
Put it in, and then what I'd like you to do is maybe just, because there's some different sizes in there, just kind of grind clockwise until you feel like it's ready, but visualize what your intention is.
Okay.
While you're doing that.
I mean, this is so exciting because when I was in India, they used to charge the water with mantra. Mantra is hugely important in India. So the idea that I even whisper and my breath moves over something just really appeals to me.
So then that's where the power will be, because it appeals to you. You've got a connection to it, so do that.
Okay.
If that's what works for you, go with it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. it goes. And now you can just grind it up, whichever side you like. I think it's this way. And as you're doing that, just visualize, bring up that feeling. How would it feel to be in the situation that you want to be in already? What's fun about it?
Okay.
And take as long
as do I do it clockwise, you were saying?
Yeah, you can grind it clockwise. Yeah, however you like.
Okay. And do I need to still think of...
Yeah, as you're doing it, just kind of, envision what it is. You can kind of roll it whatever way.
Yeah.
If you want to maybe focus on just taking the crystal, telling it what you want to do, and maybe even when you're finished with that, taking a bit of the salt, the Himalayan salt, which so you can then put it around in a circle.
And again, clockwise?
Clockwise, yeah. These if you want.
Clockwise.
Again, use what you have.
Yeah.
If all you have is a little dish from the kitchen, that is absolutely fine. I'm going to use some of this as well.
Right.
I'll put this on here. And I'm actually going to do the same as you, and I'm going to use this crystal, this citrine.
What's citrine? Citrine in yellow, I suppose.
That's the thing. For me, it's very about creative energy.
Yeah.
Just that kind of motivation to, especially artistic creativity. For me, it's very, because it's attached to happiness, and I think I'm happiest when I'm doing art, writing. That's really where I'm at home the most.
Yeah.
And I always feel that when I'm not doing that you're always a little bit kind of stagnant. So it's to really bring that back in. So that's what we're using this for.
Great.
So. And then what we're going to do is we are going to charge the whole spell. Okay? Again, people might do this in a different way, in a different order, whatever. This is kind of how I found it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take all of these things and maybe do it in a different way later on if you decide you'd like to change anything different. And that's what's so great about it, is it's customizable.
Okay.
But it should be fun. Magic should be fun. So, okay, let's center our energy. Mm-hmm. So, close your eyes. And feel your connection with the earth. Breathe it in. And try and bring in more energy up your roots. Ask the earth to help you. And feel the energy coming up through the bottom of your feet to join with your own, filling your body with white, fizzy, powerful light. And just see where on your body the energy naturally falls. Where's the energy currently in your body? It might be scattered all around, it might be kind of scattered in a few places, or more concentrated in one area. Where does it naturally fall? Just visualize that energy drawing inward so that it forms a pillar of light just down your center. Draw all that energy in so it's one thin pillar of light. And then that pillar will shrink down to become a small tennis ball size of energy just sitting in your stomach. See it now, all concentrated energy from you, energy from the earth, just concentrated in one area, potent. Play with the size so that you have control of it. Make it bigger, make it smaller, bigger, smaller. And it splits in half at your collarbone. And they go into both of your shoulders. You might feel a sensation in your shoulders as the energy travels. Slowly move it down your arms, your elbow, your forearms. Feel the energy in your hands now. Feel it all gather in your hands. And when you feel ready, put your hands close to your candle, just around it. Push that energy out of your hands and into your candle, mentally telling the candle what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Okay, what we'll do is I'll read a card for you, but you can obviously interpret it as you want as well. So
Okay.
now that we've done the spell, what message?
Do the angels have?
Yeah, what message do we have for Caroline?
Oh, that fell out. Maybe they're jumping at you.
Okay. And you've two, sometimes they fall out. That is always worth paying attention to.
They jumped.
Okay.
They just look beautiful from here.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
That's so important. Because
Truth.
that came as part of the
intentions. Yeah, what you actually want.
Yeah.
What I read in these is this is your spell is very much in the sort of earthly realm in terms of you're more likely to manifest this in something that you're doing. And it looks like something artistic, it looks like something creative, it looks something very Celtic.
Okay.
Or there's a connection to something quite Celtic. I mean, I suppose
Okay.
we're in Ireland, but I'm thinking actual Celtic symbols. I'm seeing
Yeah.
Celtic symbols.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking something artistic, something creative, something in the arts that's related to something, not just Irish, but Celtic, maybe traditional Irish.
Well, my sculptures are very folk.
Yes.
I think there's a certain folky quality
Yes.
to them.
Well, certainly in terms of, they often remind me of Yeats's poems about the fairies and things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So there's something in that I think has to do with your spell manifesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, there's a lot in terms of vulnerability.
Yeah.
About allowing yourself to be vulnerable in the very physical world. Actually just it's that trust, which I know is very difficult to do. But what it's saying is there's something in you that's waking up. Look at this little angel waking up.
Oh, let's have a look.
There's something in you that's waking up to the possibility that you're ready to do this.
Yeah.
About being vulnerable, about kind of, being just totally yourself, kind of just daring to be seen. That's what I'm getting from this. It's dare to be seen in all of everything that you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Even the shadow side, Andrew.
Even the shadow side. Because that's part of it. You can't put one half of your soul above the other anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's allowed.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of help around you.
Okay.
There's a lot of messages, there's a lot of voices. Maybe it's your guardian angel, maybe it's your spirit guide, but they're guiding you on this. They have messages for you. They'll be whispering to you as time goes on.
Okay.
So pay attention to them, listen to them.
Okay.
More of that's going to awaken in you. It's going to inform your craft somehow.
Okay.
And I think that's going to lead to, I think that the very creative side of you has something to do with what you're wanting to manifest.
Oh. Now, of course, the way my mind is going now, it's immediately trying to figure out route. So I have to stop that.
Stop that. Just allow it to happen.
Just allow whatever.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I mean, they're two really beautiful cards to receive.
They're very in colour. I read a lot to do with colour. So this has to do with sort of physical, earthly, sort of in survival things. There's like a lot of red, but there's also a lot of green, which is soft. It's to do with your heart. It's to do with something that you love. And this is the same, but this has more to do with intuition. Also a little bit about speaking. The way you speak is very important. The words you're choosing to think, the words you're choosing to say. Be mindful of those and be careful when there's anything negative that you're, like, if you kind of catch yourself doing negative kind of statements the way we did before, that's good. Don't beat yourself up about those things, because noticing them means that we're aware of them. Yeah. Meaning we can change them. So anytime you catch that, replace it with your new affirmation. Yes. And be aware of that, you know, speak positively about yourself, speak positively about what you want to achieve. You know, you are drawing this in, you deserve this, you know, this is on its way to you. You know, you don't have to earn this, you know, you don't have to prove anything. You deserve it, you want it, you get to have it just because you're here.
Well, again, we're back, aren't we, to manifesting and value. You know, I'm just noticing the colours are
intuition.
Of intuition is quite similar. And now you're making me feel everything is possible, that we are literally.
Well,
why not just
your candle flame? It's going high.
Yeah.
And it's still, and sometimes it's flickering. That usually means that there's a tradition of reading candle flames on a spell. Right, both of ours are quite high. That usually means that there's a lot of positivity behind it. There's not a lot of resistance. If it was very sparkly, if it was very moving, or if it was very low, there's something working against it. What I'm seeing here, maybe because we did our little banishing beforehand, there's actually nothing stopping this from happening. Yeah. So you've actually got a full clean slate. You've got an open road at the moment, you see.
Wow, and resistance is such a huge thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All the inner resistances that we build up to our own happiness against ourselves. So, I mean, I'm long in the tooth now. I'm not a spring chicken, so it's very nice to be at this point in life and feel that you can still create.
Well, wine gets better with it. Age. I mean, nobody wants a young wine, you know. Yeah. And sometimes the best thing about people is their life and their experience. You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, it doesn't matter where we are in life. We're here. We're here and we have things to do. As long as you're here, there's a reason for it. You know, we're not. You know, we're here until we're not, and so
until we're in the next place. Yeah, wherever that is.
And while we're here, we always have more things to do, more things to experience. You know, you don't stop. You don't just get your life to a certain point and just maintain it. It's constantly growing and moving and changing.
Yeah, and I'd be really of that school that everything is change, and of course we all can dislike change, but
it's so scary. People don't like change, but you know, we don't like what's unfamiliar. Yeah. But you can make the unfamiliar familiar, but it sometimes has to be small. You know, we don't like a full 180. We don't like to be dropped into something new. Yeah. But it's a sense of self-awareness is always, you know, what's needed. And I think that's actually this might be saying as well, this particular card is when you're in your new situation, and you will be. Yeah. You need to be aware of your thoughts. Because sometimes we think when we get it, it's like, that's it, it's done, I've got it. Yeah. That's the beginning. Okay. It's like, oh, you have this thing now you have to, you know, learn how to have it and learn how to enjoy it. And sometimes that's learning to enjoy something can be the trick. So be aware of when you're maybe your old sort of thoughts might be trying to creep in, and just say, we're not doing this today, you know, I deserve to have this.
Please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content in the future. And remember, strange is beautiful.